Welcome back. Now, dozens of heads of states and governments, including Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, officials from the United Nations, the World Bank, and actors from the civil society are holding a summit to combat global warming and also help poorer nations deal with the impact of climate change.
Yeah, the aim of the summit is to urge wealthy countries and global companies to commit more funds to the fight against climate change. French President Emmanuel Macron organized the One Planet Summit on the 2-year anniversary of the Paris Climate Accord, which saw nearly 200 governments agree to end their heavy reliance on fossil fuels and limit further global warming.
Well, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are also in attendance to offer a helping hand to West African forces to battle Islamist militants. We have TVC News' Ogochi Oluigbo joining us now to give us more details on climate change and, of course, developments from the Climate Change Summit. Let's let you know that Ogochi is an anchor and, of course, an eco-friendly presenter as well. So she is aware of the climate agenda.
We also call her Madam Green Angle.
Madam Green Angle, exactly. That's a program on the
Thanks for
station.
having me.
Yes, good morning to you.
Good
now,
morning.
yes, this summit is coming at this time that many leaders somehow felt defeated after U.S. President Donald Trump said that the old Paris Agreement was a hoax and that he pulled the United States out of it. So how important is it really to the eco-friendly agenda of the world leaders?
I think it's very important because it shows leadership by the French government and by France in tackling this very important issue. And it's also important for them that this happens, the Paris Agreement, because it gives relevance to them as a country that we signed this deal in Paris and we went forward to actually tackle climate change all over the world. The United States pulling out of the Paris Agreement is also a big issue, but I also think this might be very political. Remember that handshake between Trump and Macron? So I feel that Macron is also trying to say, yes, we're going to fight climate change. I want to take that leadership that you have refused to take on. We're going to be the leaders. We're going to invite leaders from all over the world, businesses and CEOs to come over here and let's talk about how to really tackle this issue, which is a global issue, even affecting the United States. It's sad that President Trump is pulled out of that agreement, but also remember that thousands of companies and CEOs in the United States have come out to say we're going to take on the role that the United States as a government should have taken. So we're going to commit ourselves to tackling climate change, whether the U.S. as a government agrees to be part of it or not.
Yeah, we heard John Kerry, former Secretary of State, was saying that even though President Trump has pulled out, but a lot of states within the United States are still part of it and are willing to be part of the agreement. But from the last summit until now, what has really changed? What are the commitments that have been matched with practical execution and implementations?
I think the most important thing is for the finance, for the monies to be brought in. There's $100 billion annually agreements of funds that should be given out to help support poorer countries who are not actually even responsible for climate change, so to help them adapt and to mitigate the effects of climate change.
Greenhouse gas emission.
Yes, so these monies are not coming in as they're supposed to. I think just less than a quarter of that has come in so far to tackle this. So I think finance is also the major thing, but they're bringing them together to say beyond our commitments, we need to act now. We need to start sending in this money so that people can start working and sponsor projects that are environmental friendly, especially farmers in rural communities who right now cannot farm because of the weather, you know, fishermen who cannot fish, to be able to help them adapt to the effects of climate change and innovative ideas that can help them also get their lives back together while we wait for climate change to be reversed if it does happen.
Indeed, and of course that's the focus of the summit, on how to boost finance. But then, yes, that's somehow what the U.S. will always bring it to the table for the group of countries across the world. So now, which country really, from what you've seen so far, is going to take that leadership role financially? Well needed, from what you've followed, from what you've seen in the climate change discussion?
Well, financially, right now, we don't really know which country might be taking that leadership, but the U.S. was expected to take that leadership in terms of finance. And China should also be taking that leadership because China is a big, big polluter, you know, and the U.S. is also comparing its actions to China. China is under the developing countries, and they say China is not a developing country. China has developed, so we should be together and paying this, you know, the price we have to pay for what we did. So we're hoping that all other countries can come on board, the developed countries to come in and meet up with the funds needed to tackle tackle climate change.
Okay, Nigeria has been part of the agreement and our president was there 2 years ago. Right now, our president is also there in France and all of that. Now, what is Nigeria's commitment to all of this, especially when it comes to, okay, we know we're a developing country, we're expecting funds, but Nigeria agreed to be committed to the agreement. So what's Nigeria doing?
There's something called the nationally determined contribution. That is what you're going to do when you get back home. That was after Paris. What you're going to do when you get back home to tackle climate change. It's funny that Nigeria is part of it, because the idea is also to reduce dependence on fossil fuel and switch over to cleaner energy. But Nigeria, I mean,
heavily dependent.
Yeah, everything comes from fossil fuels. So how? You know, some people say doesn't make any sense. You're part of this commitment, but you're also dependent on fossil fuel. And Nigeria is also talking about nuclear energy. Nigeria is talking about coal, you know, as an alternative. So it's funny for Nigeria.
And these are heavy fossil fuel sources.
Exactly. And we have lots of sunshine. We have wind. We have geothermal energy that we can harness, you know, to ensure that we even have gas, which is clean now, you know, and we're just letting the gas, flare the gas out there, and we're not making any good use of it. So if Nigeria is really wants to show its commitment to this, we also need to start talking about these issues, which is not have budgets that is mostly dependent on money from fossil fuel. It's going to be hard for us. And of course, we don't have energy. So we're running our generators, we're burning fuels, we're, pushing so much carbon into the atmosphere because we do not have power. Everybody has a generator. So it's also a problem for Nigeria. And we see all these cars all over the place. Emitting fuels, the regulations are not strong. You know, some countries every year you have to go check your emissions to be sure that your car is.
It just reminded me of your trip down to Port Harcourt when the capital has had a suit there for a period of time. So as
it's back, sadly, I heard it's back.
It's back again, sadly, indeed. So as an eco-friendly reporter, now tell us the effect of all this, of all this heavily on a country like as Nigeria that is still dependent on fossil fuel.
First of all, for us, there's a global impact of the world, the planet's getting warmer. But for us, it's bad for us. You know, statistics shows that people die of inhalation of polluted air so much. So we don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, how our children are going to be healthy enough. You know, when we were growing up, remember the generator sets, they were not really like that. So we had a bit of, but right now, your neighbor has one, you have one, you know, everybody has one.
I better pass my neighbor.
Exactly, and this pollution, you know, our children inhale this. You know, when we were growing up, remember the generator sets, they were not really like that. So we had a bit of, but right now, your neighbor has one, you have one, you know, everybody has one.
I better pass my neighbor.
Exactly, and this pollution, you know, our children inhale this all day at school too, and then the generators are running and we don't even know where the generators are placed in the schools. So sometimes your child is in school, but you don't know what this child is inhaling all day. So we might see, God forbid, but we might see.
That's the Nigerian thing. That's the Nigerian thing that we always
wish it away.
Let's just pray this doesn't happen.
But
these are the effects, and then of course farmers not being able to make their life able to get more livelihood for themselves. So it's a cycle that would affect every one of us. Flooding is an issue too. Desertification in the north, erosion in the south. It's a big problem that we all need to tackle individually.
All right, we have to leave you here now. We also hope there are also calls for civil society organizations to hold government accountable.
Absolutely.
And they've been doing that in the past.
And talk about the ecological funds.
Yeah,
what happens to the money?
Exactly.
What happens to those monies given out every year to tackle these issues? We need to start asking.
Ugochi Oluigbo, thank you very much. Madam Green Angle for coming on the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you.